Hello, this is the TradeSite US Stocks, Futures, and maybe Forex market preview for Wednesday, the 16th of February 2022. Very strange day, very flat day again after a gap. The situation in the Ukraine, obviously, a very tense situation, and market is reacting and waiting for whatever's going on there. So let's just go through what we're looking at here. Here's the ES front month futures contract. This is the daily chart of the broad market in futures form. It still sits in a new downtrend that's been formed after months of uptrend, even though we got to bounce off of the lows the last couple of days. The S&P cash gained 69.40, but when you see the intraday, you'll see that we basically gapped up most of that. The NASDAQ, here's an easier way to look at it. The NASDAQ 100 up 352 points, but a huge piece of that, over 200, is the gap. So it is what it is. In terms of the stocks, it was up 184.25. That's a decent bounce, but still sitting down here in the middle of the range. The biotech's up 107, so that's not great. The Russell 2000 up 50.55 and change. Crude oil dropped for the day. Now, this is the current day's thing, but it came back down after Russia backed off in theory, although I don't know that we've seen that they've actually backed off, but they said they were backing off. So we dropped 4 points on crude oil. Obviously, oil very reactive to what's going on over there, and there's a lot of money to be made around the world playing the games related to the war that's potentially going to happen over there. So we'll see what happens. But right now, crude oil sitting at $92 a barrel. Gold up, down $1.70 at $1854.50 on the session. Advanced decline ratio on the NASDAQ was positive. So again, after being UGG on Monday because of the concerns, it was up because of maybe they're backing off. And this is going to be the story right now. It's a weird market because the intraday action's horrible and there's not much to do, but it's going to be, gap down on bad news or gap up on good news, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And this was certainly that scenario. Advanced decline ratio on the NASDAQ plus 1729 is also very positive. I would say in the most positive 10 days of the last year. NASDAQ volume, though, as the market waits for this, right? A little bit volume is dropping off because the Fed's going to start pulling the money back in, but 4.4 billion shares on the NASDAQ. Trend closes at 0.87, puts the 10-day moving average, or 0.86 puts the 10-day at 0.85 or so, right? Which is still that sell signal on the broad market, so we'll see what we get. The VIX, though, did drop $2.63. Apple up $3.91. Amazon up 26.87. This is not really putting it anywhere. Actually, it's running into resistance right here. Facebook up $3.30. That's a little tiny bounce off of very big lows, down almost 50% in the last couple months. Google up 21.65. Keep in mind, Google had positive earnings and announced a stock split. That usually is going to take the stock higher. It was a bad environment, market falling apart. So it's actually down even though the stock split's coming. There's going to be a general bias to the upside on Google no matter what. So it just depends on how heavy the market gets overall. Goldman Sachs up $3.70. Netflix up $10.89. Peloton up 42 cents. TLT, the 20-year bond ETF, down $1.55. New lows. So we had the 13 buy signal though there, and that could hold. I do want to point out though that this is really an interesting daily chart, right? Because way back in May and June of last year, and this is weird for this to happen, for the first time after 8-9 months, but we had the 9-bar startup phase and then the Seeker 13 sell signal. Now, the sell signal technically didn't work. If you look at it, we got a little higher after that and we broke the risk line, so that's not a positive from that perspective. But the red line you're seeing, the solid red line, is the static trend line of that move. And so even though you can't look at that sell signal and say, well, if I'd shorted the TLT and followed the rules for my risk level, or my risk, right, I would have stopped out, is what you should have done. Having said that, we've now, 8 months later, fulfilled that signal. It's kind of interesting. Tesla up 46.67, which is just a range. That 13 sell signal was right on the money. Zoom up $4.81. It is what it is. Bitcoin sits at 43,805. Futures for tomorrow, got the ES showing down 12 and the NQ is showing down 52. That may or may not mean anything, obviously, by morning, the way things are going right now. If you want to look at the action during the day, though, so let's look at Monday and Tuesday, right? Monday was a flat opening, tried to come down a little bit. I wouldn't say pullback. It was a very tiny move. came right back up over lunch, and then right as lunch was ending, there was word that it looked like Ukraine was going to get hit, and so the market tanked, but then rallied a bit and closed generally flat on the day. Then here you go, Tuesday, when Putin says he's pulling back troops, although again we don't know, and now the gap up and just dead flat. I mean, how flat can the day be? You know, I would say 90% of those candles touch the opening 5-minute candle. How often do you see that? That's really not interesting or whatever. So that takes us into Wednesday, where here in the U.S. we have wholesale, retail sales and import-export prices, industrial production capacity utilization, business inventories, crude oil inventories, and then minutes from the last Fed meeting, which we all know what they're discussing at this point, right? Is how soon and how fast do they raise rates? We know that's coming, but how much is the real issue. Charts, as usual, brought to you by eSignal. If you've not yet taken a trial of our services, feel free to do so. We will help you out for a couple weeks. Have a great trading Wednesday.